Hello everyone, Bandits here, and today I want to show you how I styled my Nurse Joy wig. This will be more of a work log than a tutorial, but hopefully you'll find it helpful for your future projects too. The main materials I used for this was a chibi style wig and a pack of short wefts in rose pink from Arta Wigs Canada. I also used foam insulating rod, foam hair rollers, and then a variety of glues. To start off, I made 2 hoops with the foam rod and wrapped the hoops in fabric tape and wire for structure so they wouldn't sag under their own weight later. Just as a forewarning, you're going to notice that this video jumps ahead from time to time. This is because some time ago my camera was damaged, and while filming it would overheat and shut off without warning. I've done my best to piece it all together as clearly as I can. It's not ideal, but you gotta roll with the punches. To make the hair loops, I brushed the wig into 2 low pigtails. I cut the foam hoop so I could feed it through the base of the pigtail, and then I sewed it back shut. These foam hoops are going to act as the base for the hair loops. I then reshaped them into teardrops instead of circles to better match Nurse Joy's hairstyle from the anime. Next, I took a small section of hair and weaved it back through the hoop passage at the base of the pigtail. Once glued down, this will hide the elastic and help make it look like continuous hair. Working with small sections at a time, start building up the bulk of the upper loop by wrapping and weaving the hair around the hoop. The trick is to lay the hair as flat as possible when wrapping so that glue evenly catches all the hairs. Use sparse amounts of hot glue for this to avoid messy globs. Now, I wouldn't normally admit to using hot glue on a wig because somehow that just seems wrong, but I honestly can't imagine having done this any other way. Keep wrapping the hair until eventually you've used up all the remaining pigtail. For this, it's best to work slowly and with small sections of hair at a time to avoid making mistakes. Because hot glue is the type of thing that's all or nothing. Once you've put it down, there's really no clean way of taking it back off. It's at this point that I started to incorporate Got2b freeze spray and tacky glue into the mix to help hold down the loose ends and the flyaways. So long as you don't apply it too thickly, tacky glue will dry transparent, and you can use a hairdryer on low settings to help speed up the set time of the glues. Moving on to the barren bottom hoop. This is where your pack of short wefts come into play. Cut strips of wefts long enough to cover the empty sections, and then glue the weft directly down to the surface of the hoop. Then repeat the wrapping and gluing process exactly the same as before. It will take several layers of wefts to match the thickness of the upper hoop, so just keep gluing and wrapping and gluing and wrapping, and eventually we'll all get there. Once you are satisfied with the hair loops, it's time to move on to the dramatic rolled bangs. Based on the reference art, Nurse Joy's bangs can be divided into 3 rolls, a center roll and 2 side rolls. To make the rolls super stable, I bought a pack of foam hair rollers from the dollar store and removed the plastic bracket. I was lucky in that the rollers already came in the same pink as my wig, but you could easily spray paint them to match whatever color. Since the ends of the rolls were going to be visible, I needed to make them look like they were part of the hair. So using hot glue, I layered strips of wefts onto the face of the rolls, overlapping in crisscross directions to get good coverage. To really secure the hair, I folded down the excess and glued it into place with a combination of all 3 glues. I would prep one and then secure it with a hair elastic to set while I worked on the next. I cut away all the elastics before using the rolls in the wig though. Again, repeat this process of gluing and setting until you have all the foam rollers recovered. Next, it's time to prep the bangs. Start by clipping back the sections allotted for the side bangs, and work with the center roll first. For this style, I wanted the bangs to sit very high on the forehead with a lot of volume, so I started by sectioning off the upper half from the lower half. I sprayed this section straight up with freeze spray and set it with my hairdryer. Doing this first will increase the amount of volume the upper section has later on. Take the lower half of the bang section and brush it as flat as you can. Then, with small amounts of hot glue, start rolling the hair around the foam roller. Once you've rolled all the way back to the wig, anchor it down with more hot glue. Hold it in place while the hot glue cools and sets. Be patient with this part because if you let it go too early, I find it will sag and doesn't hold quite as nicely. I have to call myself out on this one. I used my heat gun on my hair. Please do not do this. It is highly unrecommended. My hairdryer crapped out in the middle of filming this, but every time I see my heat gun in a frame, it makes me cringe to the center of my being. I am for shame. Once the base is set, unclip the upper hair and start working it into place. For me, I found the bangs section too long, so I trimmed them back to a more manageable length. I trim my wigs by making small vertical cuts until I'm happy with the length, checking often to make sure I don't overdo it. Then use freeze spray and tacky glue to set the underside of the bangs. Once you've completed the center roll, you can then move on to repeating the same process on each of the side sections. So here's a quick look at the final design in motion. I really enjoyed styling this wig since it was a new and interesting challenge for me, and I'm hoping that this video has given you some useful ideas for your own future projects. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments and I'll do my best to fill in the gaps there. And in the meantime, happy crafting!